And I look forward to Parliament ratifying this. Thank you.
Honourable members, Parliament will now vote. The question is that Parliament approve that Fiji ratify the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. Does any member oppose the motion? As no member opposes, the motion is agreed to unanimously. Secretary General.
Motion pursuant to Standing Order 130.
Honourable members, I now call upon the Attorney General and Minister for Economy, Civil Service and Communications, the Honourable Ayaz Syed Qayyum, to move his motion. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that Parliament approve that Fiji ratify the International Labour Organization Violence and Harassment Convention 2019. Thank you, sir.
Is there a seconder?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to second the motion.
Now invite the Honourable Attorney General to speak to his motion. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, the Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs and Defence earlier this week tabled a report on the ILO Violence and Harassment Convention 2019. The report tabled by the Standing Committee provides a summary examination of the submissions made to the Standing Committee. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, sir, the submissions received by the Standing Committee call for the ratification of the Convention. Mr. Speaker, sir, just by way of very quick background regarding the Convention, the Convention was adopted on 21st of June, 2019, coming to force 12 months after the date on which the ratification of two members have been. Given that this is a new convention, Mr. Speaker, sir, to date, no country has ratified this convention. So Fiji may well be the first country to ratify this convention pending parliamentary approval. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm sure the Minister for Women will also speak on this convention. I'll get her to speak on the more intrinsic details of the convention itself, where it contains the definition of violence and harassment. It also protects workers and other persons at work, including employees defined by national laws. Article 3 of the Convention sets out the application of violence and harassment of the workplace. Mr. Speaker, sir, one thing I also wanted to mention about this particular convention vis-a-vis our Constitution is that the equality provisions of the Fijian Constitution, Mr. Speaker, sir, has hitherto, no other constitution has hitherto provided those types of protections, in particular for women. Mr. Speaker, sir, if I could read section 26 of the Fijian Constitution, Mr. Speaker, sir, just to highlight the far-reaching impact of this Constitution, Mr. Speaker, sir. It says that every person is equal before the law and has the right to equal protection, treatment and benefit of the law. Equality includes the full and equal enjoyment of all rights and freedoms recognized in this chapter or any other written law. A person, Mr. Speaker, sir, must not be unfairly discriminated against, directly or indirectly, on the grounds of his or her actual or supposed personal characteristics and circumstances, including race, culture, ethnic or social origin, color, place of origin, sex, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, including, Mr. Speaker, sir, marital status or pregnancy. So it has a very expansive scope in respect of those provisions which predominantly, Mr. Speaker, sir, of course, go towards gender identity, and predominantly also to women. And as we know that most victims of sexual harassment, Mr. Speaker, sir, and the related violence also, Mr. Speaker, sir, is directed towards women. And that's a hardcore fact. Fiji has put in place a number of laws, both in our Crimes Act and in other areas where we have actually recognized the deleterious effect, the grotesque effect of violence and sexual harassment not just in workplaces but various other public spaces also. And by Fiji and the Parliament giving the approval for ratification of this convention will be another signal to the rest of the world, but more so also to our citizens, in particular women, that the government, that this Parliament is serious about protecting people from sexual harassment, about protecting people from violence. So with those introductory remarks, Mr. Speaker, sir, I'd like to open the floor for debate. Thank you.
I give the floor to the Honourable Pavan Bala. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to briefly contribute